Hello, and welcome to the Holistic Hatha Yoga podcast. I'm Kelsey, and I am here to be your guide in all things Hatha Yoga today. So, welcome back to the show. If you're new here, welcome to the show. I'm really excited. Let's just dive right in today. Today, we are talking about just going kind of back to the basics, and we are diving into breathing. And what makes breathing so important aside from we need to do it to live every second? But just the importance of the structure of the breath and the depth of the breath and really the amazing magic that comes along with the breath as well. And so today, like I said, we're really going back to basics. And really, the number one thing that anybody and everybody needs to know with breathing is how to tap into belly breathing. And you may have heard me use this term before. You may have seen some videos where people do this or have heard of it or whatever. And you're like, okay, belly breathing, I get it. What's so special? Or move on. Or maybe you're like, tell me more. What is this belly breathing? So before we really talk more about it, let's be about it. Or yeah, is that how the saying goes? Don't talk about it, be about it. Is that the thing? Something like that. Something like that. So before we talk about it, the belly breathing and all the things, let's just take a quick moment here to do a little bit of belly breathing together. So whether you are walking, whether you are stationary, seated, laying down, whatever you're doing, washing dishes, vacuuming, I don't know, all the fun things. Whatever I'm joining you in. I love to imagine what different people are doing while you're listening to this. So, yeah, send me a message or tag me on Instagram at Holistic Hatha Yoga, and I will reshare as much as possible. Yeah, I'd love to see what you're doing or what you're up to when you're tapping in and tuning in to this podcast. So, anyway, without further ado, let's do some belly breathing. Um, so basically, all we're doing is most people, or most times in at least Western societies, a lot of people are breathing in their chest. They are chest breathers, is what we call them in the yoga world. A lot of people are chest breathers, and you might be identifying as one as you're realizing where your breath is going when you take a breath. If you're taking a breath and it's just kind of filling your chest or your pectoral muscle areas, your breastbone areas, um, you are chest breathing. If you're breathing and your belly button is coming out a little bit, your belly's kind of falling out a little as you breathe in, which apparently isn't allowed in Western culture. It's like, no, suck in the belly, suck in the belly. And I think, like, especially women, sadly, this is so fucking sick and gross and twisted and sad, but so many women I know have just been told, me included, our entire lives, like, suck it in, or like, tighten the abs, like, tighten it up, all the things, and it's just like, fuck off. What are you talking about? So what does that tension and that kind of sucking it in create? It creates you constantly in a state of fight or flight, breathing in your chest and not ever having these deep belly breaths. And so not ever really being embodied and feeling safe within the body. So I think there's a correlation there between the encouraging of sucking it in and or keeping your abs tight and or not belly breathing and not even making people feel ashamed for doing it almost like, oh my God, oh, look at your belly, look at it hanging out. It's like, get real. We're all human bodies. Like, have you ever seen like a horse being like, I'm not going to breathe properly because everyone's going to think I'm so huge? Like, Fucking no, it's a horse and it's gonna be a horse and it's a body. Like, just breathe. Like, we are animals, we are no different. And so we need to just clear the air right there. Anyway, as I take a deep belly breath, I'm like, I need to calm down because belly breaths take our uh, parasympathetic nervous system into action. So we have our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system. It's basically, those are the two halves of our nervous system. And so the sympathetic is that fight or flight, and the parasympathetic is that rest or digest. And so we want to be activating that rest or digest version of our nervous system, because this is where we can be the most relaxed, the most at peace, and of the most sound mind. When we are in fight or flight, as you may have noticed, you might not make the best decisions, or you do make excellent decisions and they're like very quick, cat-like reflexes, life-saving situation. But that's what fight or flight is truly for, is for that truly life or death situations where you need to act quickly and fast. But we don't need to act quickly and fast in every way of our days. So we need to just kind of reframe to allow ourselves to come into this parasympathetic nervous system. Anyway, I digress. I said about 5 minutes ago that we were going to do this practice. So let's dive into it. So wherever you are, we're going to come back and we are going to do some belly breathing. So if you're sitting or seated, the tongue twister, you can bring your hands to your belly, kind of to where that navel area is, belly button, whatever you want to call it, and or like slightly above the belly button too. You can feel there, whatever feels best for you, the whatever place you want to rest the hands. Um, and if you're walking, you do not have to put the hands on the belly, but you are more than welcome to. It might be a little bit harder to do it since you'll be activating your abs and things as you walk, but you can still definitely do it. Anyway, so if you are seated, you can close your eyes as well so that you can really get embodied and kind of feel the breath and feel the air move through the body. So first things first, we're going to close the mouth fully and we're going to be breathing through the nose, through the nostrils only. If you have a stuffy nose and this is absolutely impossible, I suppose you can breathe through the mouth. However, we always breathe through the nose in really any breathing practices that we do in yoga, and I will explain why later. Anyway, so taking that deep belly breath, as we take that inhale in, let that air travel directly down to the belly and start to push the belly out as you inhale, filling the lungs nice and slowly and kind of all around in that lower rib cage area and belly, letting that fill out, and then slowly filling the lungs up through the collarbones, up through the chest, and really kind of expanding that air all around the lungs, all through the lungs, kind of opening up that whole lung area. And when you reach the top at that collarbone, then you can hold for a couple counts, 1, 2, 3, however many you can hold there, and really that holding that air for those few counts helps create some expansion. So you create that expansion holding at the top of the breath. And then as you exhale from the top of the lungs down through the belly. So you kind of let the air start coming out naturally, and you can do that through the nose or you can exhale through the mouth. Whichever is most natural to you. And it's nicer if you can do it through the nose because it's slower through the nose. And the slowness of the breath is also part of the calming and the kind of activating that sympathetic nervous system. So if you can just breathe through the nose, inhaling and exhaling, that is the ideal here. So anyway, as you exhale from the top of the lungs down through to the bottom and kind of pulling the abs in as the last action of like pushing all of that air out. And so as you inhale, and then sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So we're pulling in the abs, kind of pushing all that air out. And again, we're going to hold the breath out for a couple breaths and then take the inhale. And then as we take that inhale again, bring that air directly down to the belly first, letting the belly be the first thing to relax and expand as we inhale. All the way up through the chest, through the collarbones, all the way up, up, up. Fill the lungs, hold at the top of the breath. And then exhale down through the chest, down through the belly, pull in the belly, pull in the abs, pull, exhale, exhale, exhale. Hold the breath out for a couple breaths. And then inhale, right down to the belly again. Fill up the lungs from the outsides and the bottom, up through the chest, through the tops of the collarbones. Hold at the top of the breath. And exhale down through the chest, down to the belly, pull in the abs, really press all of that air out, hold the air out for a couple breaths, or a couple moments, sorry, not breaths, and then inhale all the way down to the belly, breathing in, expand the lungs, let that chest lift, fill up to the collarbones, hold for a couple moments, exhale down through the chest, through the belly, pull in the abs, hold out the breath for a moment, and slowly bring that inhale in. And then just naturally come to a normal, uncontrolled breath. So I'm not saying go right back to your chest breathing, but I'm just saying go to an uncontrolled breath. Just go to a nice, simple breath. And maybe you notice a difference here. You should if you have done it, and if not, maybe just go back and try again. Try again. I will also post a video of this on my YouTube channel if you find it more helpful to watch and do it at the same time. So, but anyway, that is kind of just a little crash course, if you will, in belly breathing. And so as you can tell, the main idea here is to pull that air down to the bottom of the belly and let the belly expand out first as you inhale, filling the lungs to the top, holding for a couple counts, exhaling from the top down to the bottom, pulling the abs out in as the last thing that we do, bringing that belly in, and then started holding out for a minute. Not a whole minute, obviously. Holding out for a couple seconds and then inhaling and starting the process all over again. So basically what this is doing, it's using our entire lung capacity. So our lungs are operated by our diaphragm. And our diaphragm is a large muscle that lays at basically right where your ribs. It's basically, it creates that divider between where our lungs are and where our like abdominal cavity starts, and like where our guts and our stomach and all of that shenanigans is. And so the diaphragm is connected to the bottom of the lungs, and when it is um, I'm trying to think of when it's pulling, when we are expanding it, when we're making it like pull out, basically, is when we're pulling the lungs down. So when it rests, it kind of sits high up near our rib cage, and then so it takes our conscious, or not our conscious effort, but it does take our muscular effort to pull that muscle down, and that muscle kind of contracts, and then it pulls the lungs down. And as the lungs pull down, it acts as a natural like vacuum effect to pull air into our body. And so our body is really just basically a big tube and bag system, more or less, where we just are exchanging either physical matter, liquid matter through food and water, or gas matter through um, air, And so obviously we process the liquid and solid matter through our digestive system, and we digest the gases through our respiratory system. Anyway, so we're in constant exchange with the world around us just through our breath, let alone through the food and that we eat and the water that we drink and the things that we watch, the people that we see, the things that we say. But like every second is affected by our breath and the quality of our breath, which is why our breath is so important. It's our connection point to spirit and our quickest connection point, I should say. It's not our only connection point, but our quickest connection point. And so, when we are not breathing in a way that is supporting our body, then that's where disease is welcomed in. And so, anyway, back to the diaphragm. So when we breathe in, that muscle pulls down, it pulls the lungs down. The lungs then naturally vacuum effect take in air around us. And so if we're only breathing into the chest area, the problem is that within our lungs we have it like breaks off. We have two lungs. We have two different like areas there that goes on either side of our chest. And then we have two bronchi that go into the lungs. And at the end of the bronchi are basically going into our lungs is the bronchioles, which is basically they look like branches of a tree, basically, that go in. And then at the very end of these bronchioles are alveoli, which are little grape-like structures that live at the end of these bronchioles, and they have these really thin membranes. And at these membranes, where all these blood vessels go around, like kind of encapsulate them, almost like a net of grapes, but only alveoli and its blood vessels. Um, Pretty trippy, but it's literally exactly what it looks like. I promise. And so, um, anyway, so when we breathe, we are breathing that air down through those tubes into our lungs and then into the very ends of those bronchioli trees in the alveoli is really the spot where the magic happens. That's where we're doing that exchange of gases, of oxygen and of carbon dioxide. And so if we are not fully breathing to the depth of our lungs, where more of our alveoli are, where more of our blood vessels are, we are not getting the optimal gas exchange for our body. That is problematic. If we aren't getting the correct gas exchange because we're not breathing deeply enough or to the full extent of our lungs, then we come into what is called, basically we start to hyperventilate, is more or less. We are breathing at a faster rate than what's good for our body. And so when we're hyperventilating, we are basically creating havoc for our entire system on a cellular level. Because this then creates our body to go into what's called hypocapnia, which is a CO2 deficiency in our alveoli and in our arteries. And so when this happens, um, we can still breathe more, but then we're still not getting oxygen to our cells because we need the CO2 in our system in order to do that oxygen exchange. And so basically, then it turns into hypoxia, which is a lack of oxygen to our cells on a cellular level. And this is what's called then the Boer effect, more or less, which is where once we have the CO2 deficiency, then even if our red blood cells have all the oxygen on them that they can to deliver to our cells, it can't actually deliver it to the cell unless it can't drop that oxygen off unless there is some carbon dioxide to take on. And if there's not any to take on, it can't drop off the oxygen to the cell, and then the cell is suddenly without oxygen. When that happens, the cell, basically on a cellular structure, it needs glucose and it needs, which is like the energy of the cell, basically, and it needs oxygen in order to create the optimum energy output. And if the cell does not have oxygen and it's just running on glucose and there's no oxygen to work with it, then it starts to create much lower energetic output, for one. So all of a sudden, cellular deficiency in just output, and then also in like it doing its job. Um, and then also it creates the byproduct of lactic acid, which then like is within our muscles and creates soreness and all sorts of things. So, and basically that's just another toxin for our lymph nodes to try to pick up and clean up out of our system, which we're already having oxygen deficiencies all over the place, so our lymph nodes probably aren't doing so hot either. And so if we don't have enough, or if we're not breathing properly, if we're not breathing to the full depth of our lungs and we're not using those, then we end up, truly just fucking our body over on a cellular level, like down to the very, very cellular basis of it, all over the place, not just in one area, not just in our lungs, not just in our blood, in our entire body, because our circulatory system takes care of our entire body, and our respiratory system takes care of our circulatory system. And if we're not taking care of our respiratory system, then we're not really taking care of any other system in our body. Hence, breathing and belly breathing is so, so, so important and so vital. And so, the other part about breathing through our nose, I had said that that was a very important part of this, and I'll explain why. Well, here we go, friends. Buckle up. Our nasal sinuses actually create or produce nitric oxide, or NO in chemistry terms, I guess, which can act like CO2 in the blood, so that can help us for sure if we're having issues with the whole not having enough oxygen to our cells because we have a CO2 deficiency. Breathing in through our nose and getting that nitric oxide will help balance that. So breathing through our mouth is actually more, not nearly as helpful or healthful for us as breathing through our nose, because our nasal cavity and nasal sinuses do produce this. Not only does it help rebalance us in that super important way, but it also kills bacteria and viruses. So nitric oxide is like basically our body's very first defense against like airborne pathogens, basically. So like we are already like this really brilliantly made, like, biogenetic fucking amazing tool in body. I wouldn't even say tool. I would say our nose is a tool of the body, but like our body is an insane machine of consciousness. Like if you are having trouble, finding the magic of life, I say just turn inward, Look at your heart. Look at the things that it does. It can pump blood throughout your entire body, so much so that it like gets it back to itself and redoes the whole thing again. Like what? What? Let alone it runs off its own electrical current, not really on our own rhythm. It's on its own thing. It has its own circadian, like it's not a circadian rhythm, but its own electrical system. What? The muscle? Like what the fuck? Okay. Like that's pretty fucking magical if you ask me. So anyway, so breathing through the nose is, yeah, so helpful because not only does it help slow down the breath and does it help balance your oxygen and CO2 levels in your blood and get your oxygen levels optimal for your cellular, like, optimization, basically. Um, but it also kills bacteria and helps us stay healthy. So breathe through your nose and it helps kill all that baloney that you might be breathing in already. Little bit of a life hack there. So, yeah. So yeah, it's amazing. The body just truly does constantly amaze me. And I think the breath is a really beautiful way to recognize that we are in constant flux, we are in constant change, and we are in constant exchange with the world around us and with nature and with our environment, with our home, with our where we live. And this is why it's so important to try to, have good air quality and get outdoors and be in nature and breathe fresh air versus breathing like smog and things like that on a daily basis. Also, just in things in your home, making sure your home air quality is as clean and good as possible. Um, one one way to do that is like, yeah, just don't bring toxins in your home, or try not to. Don't burn, please don't burn, please don't burn paraffin wax candles in your homes. That is terrible for you, terrible for your lungs, and like huge cancer causer right there. So do yourself a favor and just don't even have toxins around to breathe in to start with. But try like natural candles. I love candles, so don't get me wrong. I'm not a candle hater. I have a candle burning right now, but it's a soy wax candle, organic soy wax, and it's essential oil scented only, which means it has a very low throw, very gentle scent, but it won't kill me. So I'm really happy about that. But so yeah, if you could find like essential oil scented, either soy wax or beeswax candles, those are thebomb.com. Um, what else? Just as far as, yeah, just breathing in, yeah, through your nose. Just breathe through your nose. If you're feeling not so great and you can breathe through your nose, your sinuses aren't completely plugged up, try that. Try breathing through your nose and calming yourself down. But anyway, I kind of went really hard into all of the anatomy of breathing and the cellular and kind of what's going on in that arena. Um, but on a nervous system level, and I did touch on this earlier, I guess, but basically, yeah, the our parasympathetic system is what we need in order for our body also to be in rest and digest, and that's also our repair mode. And so if we are constantly in the fight or flight, Even though, yes, it's good for if we need to make quick, fast decisions to save our lives from a tiger chasing us or whatever, it's not, it's not in a space where our body is naturally regenerating itself or fixing itself or healing itself. It's just in a state of like, go, go, go. When we're in that parasympathetic nervous system is when we are in that rest, digest, repair, and our our body can actually naturally take care of itself and naturally get rid of any free radicals that are going around and naturally truly heal and repair itself. Um, which is why sleep is so important, because that's also a main spot where our body's able to heal itself. Which is also why it's really terrible to eat large meals right before you go to sleep, because then your body is working on digestion and not cellular repair and restoration. So if you can, try to eat like 4 to 5 hours before you go to sleep, um, and maybe 3 to 4 if that sounded like too much of a stretch before you go to sleep, so that you at least have some time to digest while you're awake. And then when you go to sleep, that your body can actually go into that repair mode and really heal your body. So anyway, that's kind of just a tangent again on the nervous system. But the easiest way to activate that side of your nervous system is ding, 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 belly breathing, deep belly breathing. So do that deep belly breathing that we talked about at the very beginning of this episode. Do it for 5 minutes. Set a timer on your phone. Do it, and if that's like too much, if that's intimidating, do it for 3 minutes and set a timer on your phone. And you will be amazed at how much better you will feel. So practice that once a day, twice a day, 18 times a day, whatever you feel you need, man. You do you. You do you. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to give you the tools to heal your soul, your mind, your body, all the things. So, yeah. One love to you, my friend. Take care, and we will talk soon. This has been a super fun episode. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you learned something, and I hope you found uh, a newfound appreciation for your body and for all the magical things it can do for us. Because, yeah, I truly do believe our bodies are magical, magical things. So, with that, I will sign off. One love, my friend. One love, one light. And I will talk with you soon. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye. Om Loka Samista Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om